going to show you a quick tour of my Google Classroom. So on my homepage here, I have all of my different classes, and I'm going to go to my civics course, and here you can see I customized my banner. So I have a nice little, this is civics, so I have a nice little patriotic banner in the background that I created. And for my stream page, you can have it so it adds a link to all the assignments that you post, but I think that gets too busy. So I keep it so that the only thing on the stream is my announcement. So here I have an announcement for my students that they have an Act 35 test coming up on the 28th and what they can do to prepare for it. And just so they know, hey, this test is coming up, we need to get ready for it. In my classwork folder, in my classwork tab, I have all of my topics that are organized, and I try to make this as organized as possible so students can easily find what we're doing. And at the top, I always have bell ringers so students know when they come into class, they need to answer their bell ringer. And here, my bell ringer for today was who can become president if the vice president and president cannot serve. I can see how many students turned it in and who didn't. If I went to view the question, I can look at what each student answered, and I can quickly see, okay, did they understand this or did they not understand this, and adjust my teaching as needed. And then today's assignment that they had to do, this was a Google form review. So if I go into my Google form, I can see right away that 19 students didn't do it, and 19 students turned it in, but 3 students did not. So why did these students not turn it in? A few were absent, and one student just didn't finish in time. So I might have to discuss what happened with that student in the next class. So go to this assignment, and Google Forms. What's really nice is Google Forms will automatically grade for you. So you can see my responses, and I can also see by this summary what how students did, their average, medium, and range, and if they did well or they didn't. And I can go to each question and I can see how they answered. So this first question, I can see that 14 got this, but 5 did not. So that can inform my teaching. Do I need to spend more time on this? And as I go through each question, I can see that this question, they know. They know that we vote for the president in November. I do not need to spend any more time on that because they all got it correct. And so as I go through, I can see as well when there were multiple things that the kids answered. So for this question, which branch of government enforces laws, I had some that said judicial branch and legislative branch. So may need to spend some more time with what the job of each branch is, because if they do not know that that's the executive branch, um, they might get a couple more questions wrong as well. So that's something I need to spend time on. So great way to see how my students did with a Google form, and it also grades for you. So it's very quick and easy to take care of. And I go back to my classwork. So another assignment that I had my students do at the beginning of the unit. So this was something that I had them start at the beginning of the unit. One of the first things they did is this Google Notebook assignment. So I'm going to go to my view instructions, and in my instructions I gave for each slide, there are 4 slides. They your they it gave the directions, and I also said what they could use because many of these came from our section 1 notes that they could use, and I gave them. So for this, they each had it was a Google slideshow and interactive notebook, and I made one for each student. And I also made a sample for the first page, which was the vocab, because this was the beginning of the unit. They didn't know these vocab words yet, so I wanted to make sure that they had them because they were just from the textbook, and it made it so they didn't go out and find them somewhere else and maybe not get the correct definition. And then I can also see with this how many students turned in this assignment and how many didn't. So I could review the work of how many students got it turned in, because I did have students who have not turned this in yet, though it was due February 2nd. And another really neat way to do uh, assignments with Google is that through Edpuzzle. So I can add a link to the Edpuzzle video in my classroom, and then the students watch this, and I can go to Edpuzzle and see how they did, and again, how many students turned in this assignment and how many still have not, how many, and you can see I've graded 20, but 2 did not turn this in. So that means they got a 0 in the assignment. And this is also, so the vocab, this is just a slideshow of the vocab for the unit, and it's just a material that I shared with them so they have one place for all of their assignments. Another thing that we've been working on, well, we finished, was our History Day project. So this was a multi-thing project that we worked on for almost a month with students, and they had different little points along the way that they needed to do. So this would be an example of the main event. So the main event's the most important part. And for this, I gave them a Google Doc, and they were working collaboratively on this. So I only had students who finished this. I only had one student turn it in, and the partner would just get the grade that their partner got. So I only had to grade half of these. Not every student did this. So here in the Google Doc, I have the theme for Turning Points in History. It was National History Day, and I have the main event writing, and gave them space to write their event, gave them some reminders that's a 250 word limit. And then with this, what's really nice is I can go, when I'm looking at their assignment, I can go to suggesting and I can leave comments and I can change things, and maybe, you know, this is spelled incorrectly, so I can spell it correctly, and they will see my work as suggesting and they can change it if needed later on. They don't have to take my suggestions. I can also leave comments on their work to say, can you clarify here? You can add more detail. And that way they know how they're doing on their assignment and they can adjust as needed. And that's why there's 4 assigned. It's because they worked with a partner, and I only graded the ones that I didn't grade every student with that. So there's a quick tour of my Google Classroom. I love using Google Classroom with my students. It makes my life so much easier and organized and easy to distribute anything I need to give to my students through Google Tools.